Hello dear friends, let's talk about problems of Audi A4 B7 2004-2008. If you don't want problems with the Audi A4 in the long run, if a few basic rules apply. All TDIs regularly check the flywheel and fingers away from the multitronic. Otherwise, there are hardly any real problems. The Audi A4 B7 is a flawed car. Power steering oil must be checked from time to time. Attention must be paid to the hoses of the brake system. Rear axle and clutch problems were also noted. Spark plugs need to be checked and replaced regularly. It is also important to check the gear change intervals. Versions of the 16-valve engine, e.g. BLB, BLC, BNA, BRE, BRF, etc., had problems with a cracked cylinder head in the first 2 years. The oil pump intake filter can become clogged over time, resulting in a decrease in oil pressure in the 1.8T engine lubrication system, especially in the case of neglected engine oil change or a longer engine oil change interval. 1 and 8-liter petrol engines suffer from excessive consumption of engine oil. 1.6, 1.8T and V6 petrol engines. On models manufactured between January 2001 and January 2003, frequent ignition cable failures. 2.0 TFSI oil pressure indicator illuminates oil pump failure. For gasoline, you must keep an eye on the 2.0 TFSI engine, possible damage to the high-pressure crankshaft pump and the high-pressure pump cups. There is a constant loss of power and instantaneous power loss at high speed, noise, twitching. Engine 2.0 TFSI 140 HP. On models manufactured through August 2005, the risk of a cylinder head cracking at one of its point clamps on the engine block causes the possibility of oil passing into the coolant. Risk of engine damage if the driver is still driving despite the dashboard warning light. The FSI engine breaks the water pump and stops turning. The engine overheats if it does not immediately respond to the rising temperature. TDI engines. Turbine failures at different miles. Beware of diesel particulate filters. An increase in the oil level is a clear signal that the soot particle filter is already heavily soiled and probably needs to be replaced. 1NI TDI in the case of high mileage of about 250,000 kilometers or more, the problem of injector splashing may be present, resulting in a dilution of engine oil. Dilution of the oil can also occur in the event of incomplete regeneration DPF filters. General functioning DPF filters, the 1.9 TDI engine is not the most reliable, especially if it is often driven on shorter distances. At higher mileage, the problem with the injectors, the symptoms of rough work or worse, start off a particularly cold one, the car needs longer rolling. Sometimes the flow meter malfunctions, the problem with the turbine, and if it is not serviced on a regular basis, it is the risk of a tooth belt. There is also a problem with the crankshaft wear. Otherwise, the 1.9 TDI is considered the most reliable diesel in the Audi A4. Engine 1.9 TDI 100 HP, 116 HP and 130 HP. On models manufactured from March to August 2004, fuel leaks may occur, caused by screw problems, screw breakage at the pump above the nozzle. Revocation March 2005 control and screw replacement if necessary. 1.9 TDI PD. It is recommended not to use a service interval of 30,000 kilometers, but to change engine oil after 15,000 kilometers. Excessively worn motor oil can damage the turbine, engine mechanics, and cause gaskets to fail faster. The 1.9 TDI DPF filter is the biggest engine problem. Later modification of the software brought a partial improvement, but still the risk of being clogged and switching to safe mode. 1.9 TDI 16V engine, a common problem with the cracked cylinder head, especially in 2004 and 2005. Oil pump drive at 2.0 TDI PD incline shear destroys the engine. The 2.0 TDI gives less problems than the Volkswagen, but you may have problems with the injector pump, turbo compressor failure or flywheel. TDI engines. Some cases of engine ECU problems, including the 2.0 TDI, it goes into standby mode with reduced performance. It can be refreshed carefree after a few minutes with the ignition off. The ECU engine needs to be reprogrammed. 2.0 TDI. Excessive flywheel wear, which also has a shorter lifespan than the 1.9 TDI, is also significantly more expensive. Longer miles often include excessively worn turbochargers, which are manifested by increased engine oil consumption and increased noise, whistling. Compared to 1.9 TDI, 2.0 TDI is more likely to have problems with higher engine oil consumption. As with the 1.9 TDI, there will be more problems with the injectors to a dilution of engine oil. Dilution of the oil can also occur in the event of a tandem pump leak or in the event of incomplete regeneration of the DPF filter. Even in the case of the 2.0 TDI, the DPF works problematically and often clogs the filter, especially when driving over shorter distances. Sometimes a faulty fuel pump in the tank occurs, which causes problems with starting, that is, the vehicle will not start. The Audi A4 B7 oil pump drive goes over a chain or hexagonal axle. The problem is in both solutions. The chain is like an oil pump drive. The teeth on the sprocket get eaten over time and the chain starts to slide. As a result, the oil pressure in the lubrication system drops. Sometimes the chain slips completely and the engine runs out of grease. In the case of the 6-angle, the problem is in the soft material, where over time there is a problem with the wear of the hexagon when rotating, again resulting in the failure of the lubrication of the engine. Thus, if the oil warning light illuminates, the engine must be stopped immediately, otherwise the engine failure will follow. 2.0 TDI. In the case of the 125 kW version BMR, common problems with piezo injectors VDO Siemens. Due to the smaller hole, injectors are significantly sensitive to fuel quality. Thus, they will become clogged, reducing the effect and increasing the smoke emission of the engine. There is a build-up on the DPF filter and faster clogging of the DPF, as the dirty injectors are not able to produce enough dose to burn soot. Injectors must therefore be cleaned frequently and sometimes replaced. The biggest weakness of the 2.5 TDI is its reliability and technical problems. Many drivers consider the engine one of the worst Audi Volkswagen Group engines, rightly so. Needless to say, the main culprit for the mediocre reputation of the engine is the originally 110 kW version. The younger generation since 2003 engines have been improved, but in all 2 and 5 V6 TDIs there are problems with the fuel injection system, too frequent injector failures. Fuel pump failures in the tank. Poor ventilation of the engine block, filter clogging in the separator can occur. If it clogs the separator, it causes an increase in oil pressure and oil leaks through the various engine parts. It is therefore recommended that the separator be cleaned for a limited period. Probably the most serious problem with the 2.5 TDI engines is the excessively worn axles and bearings. The reason for the excessive wear of the axle and bearings is a design error in the form of poor circulation of engine oil that is needed for lubrication. The problem is the length of service interval from 20,000 km to 30,000 km. It is therefore recommended to change the oil every 15,000 km or once a year. And so the entire engine lubrication system had to be redesigned. Engines from the system for the new lubrication system start with B, for example BDH, BAU, BCZ, etc. A certain weakness of this engine is the Bosch VP44 centrifugal rotary pump, a failure of the ECU pump. 2.7 TDI engine sometimes does not start or problematic operation, which usually means a faulty pressure sensor in the bus rail. It often happens that immediately after the beginning you hear a short rattle accompanied by improper work. They blame the drive chain. The oil pressure drops on the hydraulic chain spanner. Over time, this rattle becomes stronger and requires the replacement of the hydraulic spanner and sometimes the chain. In extreme cases, it can skip the chain and cause serious problems. In many miles, the problem with the injectors, which is manifested by increased noise, uneven operation, and as much decrease in engine power. The all-new 2.7 TDI and 3.0 TDI engines are really very dynamic, but they were perfect in the days of their use. Today, most of them have covered more than 300,000 kilometers and are struggling with the problem of drive chains. Replacing chains is expensive. They also have problems with injectors that inject the wrong fuel and burn pistons. 2.7 TDI and 3.0 TDI. White smoke and uneven engine operation may be a sign of piezo injector failure. In the case of Tiptronic, it says a lifetime oil filling. It is recommended to change the oil after about 90,000 kilometers, which will make for very solid transmission durability. The much shorter life cycle is characterized by the multitronic transmission, especially in relation to more powerful engines with more torque. Repairing is quite expensive. With both automatic transmissions, the transmission control unit, which is expensive to repair, can sometimes fail. Numerous multitronic gearbox failures. Sometimes severe failures require complete replacement after 60,000 kilometers. Symptom felt excessive sleeping, especially called impossible departure. Quattro drive. Its disadvantage is that it sometimes leaks oil. The Audi A4 has problems with the steering wheel bearings and brake hoses. Braking vibration indicates faulty brake discs. Sometimes known problems with electricity are climate control, windows, mirrors, seat heating, etc. And a common cause is a faulty comfort model 8E09594433. The Audi A4 occasionally suffers from the leakage of freon from the air conditioner. Sometimes the electronics of Audi A4 go awry. Problems with the central locking electronics, engine failures, or flickering liquid crystal displays are typical of this model. Center brake light not working and/or rear window washer/wiper not working, electrical installation broken next to tailgate/tailgate hinges, repair electrical installation. Occasional air conditioner compressor malfunctions, noticeably reducing the cooling effect. When changing the climate compressor, it is necessary to extend the system. B7 models often have xenon lamp inverter failures due to leakage or the use of cheap bulbs. The Audi A4 B7 very often has problems with a defective xenon lamp leveling sensor. In the oldest specimens, the large central display on the instrument panel occasionally does not work. Power steering noise: check the oil level in the power steering oil bottle below max, or the air in the power steering oil. Water in the front passenger compartment, water in the control module in the front passenger compartment. Loosen the pollen filter housing gasket. Replace the modified pollen filter housing. Inside the gearbox, back material and steering wheel material wear out quickly, but this has no other consequences than the optical ones.